What a night for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Nearly flawless on the field in a 42-3 evisceration of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who have to row their boats back home after getting blown out in the shoe.
That's mean.
Well, I mean, listen, it may be, but it kind of is what it is. That's sort of how it went tonight. 42-3, the final score. You can see some of the stats on the right-hand side of the screen from some of Ohio State stars. Brendan Gulick, along with Anthony Moeglin, part of Buckeye Roundtable. The link below. Certainly hope you'll check out our new community over at Buckeye Roundtable. We'd love it if you join and join in on the conversation in our community posts. It'd be great to interact with you over there. We've got lots of cool stuff that we're rolling out on Roundtable. Boy, it's kind of hard for me to start in a different place than to say this might be like a micro thing, but my favorite number right now is 25.
Okay.
25 points allowed total in 5 games from a defense that lost 8 guys to the draft last year. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go into like hyperbole. It's never been done before. It's never been seen before. It's the greatest thing ever. We don't need to go into that. But like what Matt Patricia is doing with this defense and what these guys are accomplishing, the athleticism, the strength, the physicality up front, Caden Curry, Caden McDonald, Kenyatta Jackson, Peyton Pierce played great football tonight. I mean, just top to bottom, this defense right now is extremely fun to watch.
It's really insane. And I think back to 2 things. First is, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday earlier in the week. Somebody asked PJ Fleck. They said a question about, hey, how was it that Washington scored Ohio State's average given up or something along those lines? And PJ was like, no, they actually scored more than their average. Going into this game, Ohio State was only giving up 5.5 points per game, and they give up 3 more tonight. And it's really funny because I sent a text message about the second quarter, and my thoughts are when this defense is on the field and the opponent rips off a 5-yard run, my initial thoughts like, ooh, what happened? Like, who made a mistake? And when you put it in the context of like real football, this defense is absolutely incredible, and they do it at every level. And I was thinking about this before because earlier in the week too, Caleb Downs on his podcast made a comment, and not in a bad way, but he's like, I'm kind of getting bored back there because I don't have much to do because everybody up front is playing at a very high level. And then the 2 linebackers right behind them are both elites, not even elite's an understatement for both Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. And then that leaves the best player potentially in the country back in the back end, just like hanging out. And like, I got nothing to do back here because you guys can't even get to me. It's special stuff. And these guys are so athletic. They're so smart. And Matt Patricia's got them playing so hard and so good. It's really fun to watch.
I had this thought myself. You mentioned it to me right before we got on the air, so I'm kind of teeing you up for this, but also backing you. The maturity of this team is really impressive, and it's not just from star players. The best example I can give to back this up from my perspective was on the really cool punt return, right? Mm-hmm. You got Brandon Innes and Lorenzo Styles back there. And obviously Ohio State almost pulled off a really, really cool highlight play that, potentially almost went for 6. It was a cool highlight play in general. Yeah. But a young tight end getting opportunities on special teams and recognizing that this big play and their big idea of executing this play looks like it's happening. A perfect throw across the field from Innes to Styles. And all of a sudden, Roberts finds himself in a spot where the adrenaline could be just pumping through him, and he could rock a defender and probably get hit for an illegal blindside block and negate a big play. And instead, someone even as young and relatively inexperienced as he is, he just puts a good block on a guy and just gets in the way. It's physical, but he doesn't go make a stupid play. Like, those little things, how many times did you hear it in your playing career? You coach it or you allow it. Yeah. This team is so well coached, and I'm so impressed by their maturity. I didn't have low expectations for this team this year, but everything was building toward the title last year, and you felt it, game after game after game. So you've got this high of the national championship, and I think there were a lot of people that felt like, Ohio State could be pretty good again this year, but until you see what you got at quarterback and until you see what the defense looks like with a new coordinator, Ryan Day took a ton of heat in the offseason for bringing in Matt Patricia. How dumb does that sound now? Until you start to see some of that, you have to at least let it linger a little and say, okay, what could this look like? I am more impressed with this team through 5 games than I was last year through 5 games. Yeah. It's remarkable.
It's special stuff. And even after this game, we'll get into it here in a little bit, but we were just in the press conference room, and when a team wins 42-3, you'd expect it to be happy, smiles, fun, laughter. And it just wasn't that. I got to talk to Carnell Tate and Sonny Styles, and both of them, while acknowledging that they played really good, just both were already on to, hey, this isn't our goal this year wasn't to beat Minnesota by 40. Our goal is to win the national championship, and we're dead set on getting better and doing the right things to improve. And when your best players and your senior leaders are saying those things and doing those things, it trickles down to the freshman on the kick return, or the freshman on punt return, or the guy who gets one snap because somebody, and they just shut the lights out on me. There we go. But the guy who gets one snap and has to take advantage of it because they know that their goal, like I said, wasn't to beat Minnesota. Their goal is to get back to the college football playoff. It's to win the Big Ten championship. It's to beat Michigan, and it's to go win the national championship. And today was just another step in that. It's so I cannot explain how impressive it is that this group of kids is this mature and handles it this professionally and does it so well week in and week out. It's astonishing to watch.
And I appreciate Ryan Day saying post game, it's about the players, and you got to have the players buy into it. He's right. You also have to have the coaching staff that's willing to have that mentality and willing Ryan Day to he never ever singles out negative things individually at the podium post game. I've never heard him do that. Now, he did it in a way that I thought was kind, but talking about Bo Jackson extending a ball in a situation where he shouldn't have. You could see on the TV copy, Ryan wasn't going berserk, but he was clearly upset that Lincoln chose to run QB power wide instead of run through the A-gap. He's like, what are you doing, right? Like, the fact that he said those things post-game to me was really calculated. It was, don't you dare be comfortable with a 42-3 win feeling good. We are not good enough yet to our own standard. We're competing against our own expectations. And that's how he kind of kept coming back to it. So I just thought that was a really interesting, calculated way where he obviously has to look at this game and say, okay, no turnovers. Mm-hmm. You give up 3 points on defense. And now going back the last year and a half, how many times have they not given up touchdowns when their opposition gets in the red zone? It's ridiculous how good they've been in the red zone defensively, like miles better than anybody else in the country in that situation.
Yeah, it's
you have to be comfortable, but his willingness to to not let everybody else know, like, hey, great job, guys, like 42-3, got it done. I love that mentality from your head coach.
Yeah, no doubt. And he got a little bit of a blessing today being the 7:30 game and watching all of the chaos that was college football today. And I mean, like it or hate it, I mean, on the video board behind me and on this video board, they had the Penn State UCLA game, the finish of it. And the players were on the field watching it, and so were the coaches. And they all got to see, hey, if you don't show up and you don't give every opponent their due and you don't give every opponent their respect, they'll beat you. Because this wasn't always the case. They say it in the NFL, but those players get paid too. And they have pride in what they're doing. And guess what? Everyone talks about it. When you play Ohio State, especially in this stadium, you're getting their Super Bowl. You're getting their best effort, and you got to approach it like that every day. And it's very funny. I couldn't help but get back into my playing days when we were in that post-game press conference, because I had this a couple times. When you have good teams, the coaches know that, and they do everything in their power to knock you down. And like, I could hear him talking and be like, oh man, they're in for a long film tomorrow. They're in for a long week of practice, because his saying tonight was the second you think you got it is when you get it. And that's a Navy SEAL thing, but it's like, hey, when you get comfortable and you get complacent, that's when you get beat. So unfortunately for the Buckeyes, tomorrow's film review and practice is going to suck, but it's the sign of it's a mark of a good coach, and it's a mark of a team that has their eyes set on something way, way bigger than a 39-point win over a Big Ten opponent.
I totally agree with you. And yet the other two things that really struck me from that press conference were Ryan Day dropping a Dumb and Dumber reference.
What did he say? You texted me. I didn't hear it. What did he say?
He's ragging on. I was literally cackling.
It was the most ha-has you've ever sent me via text before.
Dude, it was so funny. It just caught me so off guard because Ryan's usually not like that in a press conference. And, he's basically at that point, he hadn't yet singled out Lincoln for the running mistake. But, he was essentially saying that, the second they gave him another opportunity because he eventually ran in a rushing score. And he's like, it's kind of like Dumb and Dumber.
Sure.
It's just like, I was really caught off guard. I thought it was really funny.
We should do our next show, and you get the blue suit. I'll wear the orange suit, and we'll come in with big top hats.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we need to do. Canes as well.
Let's not say we did.
Well, I also have a briefcase full of IOUs that you owe me. So don't worry, I got that. We'll handle that later.
Perfect. Yeah. It was great. It was great. And then, toward the end, obviously the last question of Ryan was about Newt Rockne, which was cool. And it's incredible the run that he's been on. I mean, he's coached in college football here as a head coach for 7 years. He's lost 10 games. It's amazing. He's close to a 90% winning percentage. And, the harshest critics, certainly up until last year when they won the national title, would say, yeah, and of those 10 losses, 4 of them come in your rivalry game. Obviously it is what it is. Ryan's trying to move past that. He won a national title last year, and he's got a team that looks really good again this year. Yeah. But it's amazing what he's accomplished. And, the way he sort of joked at the end of the press conference, like, well, yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm done. I'm hanging it up. Yeah. This is my last day. I've enjoyed it, and we'll see you. Obviously,
it was so funny when he snapped out of coach mode and then went to joke mode. I was confused because again, I was in player mindset again. I was like, oh my God, get out of his way. Don't ask dumb questions. Be good. And then he joked about it. It was very funny. But today I think another perfect example, and you even go back to last week and, even ask Alabama, right? First week of the year, they play an unranked FSU team, which, we could have a full podcast episode of preseason rankings and what they mean, because clearly they mean nothing. But he doesn't lose to unranked teams. And that is, while in theory that should be
49-1.
It's in theory that should be the standard, right? But it happens. You're also coaching 18 to 21-year-old kids. Sometimes they wake up in a bad mood. Sometimes their girlfriend breaks up with them. Sometimes they fail a test in class and they're not all the way focused. But every single week, these Buckeyes come out prepared, well coached, and ready to dominate. And it's a tip of the cap to Ryan and the program that he's built and took over from Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I mean it's surgical the way they do things, and you need to go out and you need to handle business. I mean, we talked before the game today about what we were hoping to see from this team, and I walked away from this going, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the scoreboard needed to say for me to feel, some level of affirmation, but I feel like Julian Sayin showed me something today, if nothing else, because they opened up the playbook a little bit for him. He was smart. He was efficient. He was accurate. He was tough, made some great throws at all levels. Had throws where he had to go through his progressions, had first read throws that he hit. He started the game 7 for 10, and he finished 23 for 27.
That's crazy.
I mean, just a really, really good showing of running the offense and showing that, yeah, the Death Star version that Ohio State fans have become used to, and seeing this offense put up insane numbers. It's not just against the Grambling States of the world that they can go out and, a game where they're favored by 23.5. They win by 39 points, and it was It was never close for more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's very impressive for what Julian's doing, because I've said it a couple times this week. There's going to come a point in this season where they're going to have to win because of Julian Sayin. Whether that is against Michigan, whether that may be against Penn State, or somewhere along the line, whether it's in the college football playoff or the national championship, they're going to have to win because of number 10. And the first month of the year, you saw a coaching staff show a rookie or a freshman or first-time starting quarterback that, hey, you have a great defense, you have great players, just do your job. If you do your job, that's going to be good enough. And you saw that for the first 4 weeks. They go 4-0, everything's looking good. But today you got to see, all right, Julian, let's find that line. Let's see how far you can push it. Let's see how many risks you're willing to take. Let's just see how you operate in offense, and let's see if we can win because of you. And they didn't need to today, but it's a experience like today that will pay dividends in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 10 weeks, that he'll fall back on and have the confidence in himself to know, hey, if Carnell's manned up, I remember that look against Minnesota where he dusted his corner and I threw one up, big ball to him for a touchdown. Or, hey, I remember that 3rd and goal from the 7-yard line where I had to just be patient in the pocket and wait for Jeremiah's double move to take place and just put a dot on him in the back corner of the end zone. Like, he's going to fall back on these experiences and have the confidence to do it and do it in big situations. I couldn't have been happier with the way they coached tonight's game to give him that runway, but also how he took advantage of the opportunity, because it was a fun day and he was slinging that thing around, man. And every week, number 10 gets more and more impressive watching him play, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think he's going to play a good team next week in Illinois, and they're a very different
in a tough environment too.
Heck yeah. And the reality is, I mean, you made the comment earlier, man. When you are Ohio State right now, you're the standard bearer. You are the hunted every single game, bar none. You got to bring it. You have to have that focus. And he's passed some nice tests early on. Obviously, Texas returned a ton of talent. I don't want to get into the whole they were ranked number 1 in the preseason or whatever, because Texas and Penn State and Clemson were all top 4 teams, and I think they're 7-8 or something so far, or maybe 8-7. Either way, regardless of ranking, Texas has a lot of talent on that team. They got a lot of guys that are going to play in the league. And Julian, in his first career start in a game of that magnitude with that weight, feeling like we can't start the season with a loss, he played well. They didn't ask him to do a ton, but he played well. He did what you would hope he would do against 2 lesser teams in Grambling and in OU. Then he had his first road test, and Washington gave Ohio State a decent fight last week, but he played fine. Then he comes back home. Okay, can you build on it? Can you do a little bit more? And I thought today was his best performance of the season, but by a reasonable margin. How can he take that into Illinois next week against a Fighting Illini team that I think they are pretty good? They're definitely an upper half of the Big Ten team. They might be a top 5 team in the Big Ten. I thought they had a chance to be really good, and then Indiana rocked them. And they took one on the chin, and I don't know that they really recovered from that. But they're good, and Brett Bielema's going to have that team ready. And it's not easy to go to Champaign, so we'll see how they play next week. But I think Julian's got a chance to get some real rhythm going here. So I'm excited about that.
And Brendan, I would even take that a step back to what you said about every team giving Ohio State their best shot. And the quickest way to erase a 50-point loss to Indiana is by beating Ohio State. And
for sure, guess
what's on Illinois' opening slide of their team meeting tomorrow? Beat Ohio State. And obviously, that's going to be their mindset going in. So, the sense of urgency for the Buckeyes has to be through the roof, because if they slip up in this one, that gives Illinois some hope. And that brings you back down to a pool of Big Ten teams that is getting a little weird right now. And you just want to keep doing your job each and every week and getting these nice wins, and keeping that, just keep pushing that thing forward and getting closer to the playoff.
Some other numbers tonight, beyond just the couple that you see on the screen there. James Peoples, 7 carries for 59 yards. That's a nice 8.4 yard per carry average. Good for him. Obviously sprung a 33-yarder that helped bolster that. I think he played a pretty good game. He had a couple of moments where probably wanted to have it back. For example, running the wrong way on a handoff exchange.
I thought that was the last time we were ever going to see him play. I've been on the wrong side of that a couple of times, and you don't get many second chances after you go the wrong way.
No. And again, like, good on the coaching staff for not, burying a guy for that. You let him know that's unacceptable. And in Ryan's words, he totally redeemed himself, as did Lincoln. Carnell Tate obviously had a career day, but Jeremiah played really well. 7 catches for 67 yards on 9 targets, 2 touchdowns. And I thought both of his touchdown catches were just professional. Yeah. I mean, talk about having strong hands at the catch point. Like, if you're not in position at the outset to defend him the right way, you're not going to get there. You're not going to make up ground on him. He played really well. Max Clare, I thought, had a really nice game too. Nice to see him get a little bit more involved in the actual offensive output, because I think he's played well this year, but maybe hasn't had that show up in the stat sheet so much, where he was obviously a huge focal point of the offense when he was at Purdue and regularly had 5 catches a game. Tonight, he finally had 5 in a game, I think for the first time all year. So it was nice to see that. On the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Caleb continues to play well. Sonny Styles, a rock-solid day. Peyton Pierce, really, really good at linebacker, 7 tackles. Both those guys had a TFL. Arvell Reese, only 4 tackles, but he did have a sack.
Let me pause real quick.
Sure.
Yes, statistically, Arvell, only 4 tackles, 1 sack.
Yep.
He's a freaking madman. He just is a matchup nightmare, and the way that they use him is just so incredible, because they'll just kind of like spy the quarterback and then make a guard or a center try to block him, and guess what? He's a better athlete. I texted this to somebody. He's bigger, stronger, faster than your best player, no matter where they're at in the field. Yeah. He could go out. Feels like he could go play man coverage on a receiver and then blitz a offensive guard and bench press them and then tackle the running back. He could do it all. He's insane.
I texted with 2 NFL scouts this week who are drooling watching him. I mean, I don't want to say he's Jeremiah Smith on defense, because Jeremiah is so far and away the best player offensively in college football that there really isn't a good comparison. But watching Arvell stand at linebacker, seeing his physicality, recognizing his speed, his ability to understand, okay, am I just holding my position here? I don't really care if there's a guy who's got his hands on me, he's trying to block me. Like, I'll shed this 300-pound lineman and go make a tackle. It doesn't matter. His ability to do that kind of thing it's pretty wild, and he's got a super bright future.
Brennan, I was talking with Kevin this week on one of our shows, and I just simply can't express to everybody watching, like, from a quarterback's perspective, when you look past the defensive line and the 2 guys you see look like transformers and they look like identical people, and it's Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, and you're like, I don't know. Like, they both could play. I don't know. Set hut and then you snap it. Like it's demoralizing just to even look at them pre-snap, because they're better. Those 2 are better than all of your guys, and they're gonna prove it.
And supposedly the best player defensively in college football is behind them.
Yeah.
I don't know if Caleb's the best defensive player on his team right now.
Hut?
He probably is, but yeah, it's
crazy.
It's pretty darn impressive. That's for sure. The thing that I guess the only other thing that I wanted to mention that stands out to me was how generally efficient the offense was tonight. I mean, they largely finished drives. Obviously disappointed on the first drive to miss the field goal, but 7 plays, 91 yards, a touchdown. 8 plays, 80 yards, a touchdown. Obviously hit the one big play over the top, right? But they had of their 6 touchdown drives tonight, 4 of them I would consider to be long drives. 7 for 91, 8 plays for 80 yards, 9 for 72, 9 for 77. And in all of those cases, it at least took a few minutes at minimum to get in the end zone. And I think there's just something to be said for, when you have a young quarterback who is still trying to get his feet underneath him and develop, find pay dirt. And Ohio State did have a decent number of third downs tonight. They were 7 of 10. Minnesota finished 1 of 11 on third down. That's obviously a big part of that too. Yeah, listen, those are the little things that I look for early in a year that can tell me, like, okay, is this fool's gold, or is this team like really actually doing the things that you want to see them do to keep getting better? And I feel like we're seeing the right signs.
Yeah, I would say I have two thoughts on that, because it's been pretty much sunshine and rainbows to this point. And I think if their offense is going to go into tomorrow and into next week thinking about something, the first thing that comes to mind is, hey, let's get out and score on the first drive.
Yeah.
I think that Minnesota did a good job. And now it's back-to-back weeks now where the opposing team kind of goes up and down the field a little bit on the defense. They end up kicking field goals, which, again, saying this out loud is like, okay, your defense is so good that I just said they go up and down the field and they give up 3 points. But that's 2 weeks in a row. And then the offense has come out and sputtered in both of them, right? Missed field goal this week, last week, 4th and goal, don't get it, don't convert. I would like to see them start a little bit faster. But one area of concern that I just would say I've been kind of just watching, I'm going to continue to watch as the competition gets a little bit better, is Ohio State's pace is so slow. And I wrote about this week over on Roundtable.
Way slower than like we've ever seen from them.
And like last in the whole America, like they're ranked 128th in plays run per game at 60.5, where if you went back 7 years ago to Ryan Day's first year, they were averaging in the 90s in terms of plays. And why that's important is because let's just say better team, stormy weather, windy, rainy, whatever. Let's say you slow that pace down and you fumble, or you go 3 and out, or you get off to a slow start. It's really hard when you don't run a lot of plays and you don't have a lot of possessions that to find rhythm. And so I would say, yes, it's good now because you've done it against teams you should beat, but just something to be aware of. Like, hey, you need to, if you're going to slow it all the way down, you need to be very precise in your execution, and you need to do it drive after drive after drive after drive. So it's just something that caught my attention this week, doing some studying and some prep, and something I'll have my eyes on here going forward.
For sure. I mean, they only ran 58 plays again tonight. The only other thing that I wonder, and since you brought it up, I'll just press you on this a little bit. I mean, they're obviously aware of it.
Yeah.
I have to think that it's intentional.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously trust their defense the way they trust their defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're trying to make sure the game doesn't speed up for a young quarterback. That's how I interpret it, and it's clearly working. So whatever their reasoning is, fine. But that's kind of the vibe that I get.
And go even bigger picture, Brendan. Think about 7 years ago when the college football playoff was 2 games as opposed to 4 now. So last year they played 16 games. Brian Day's he's been very vocal about this. I have to, if our team is firing on all cylinders on October 4th, great. Doesn't help me in January. Doesn't help me at the end of January. So he's like, his whole intention here is slow it down and run less plays so that my guys are fresh later in the year. It's, that's the positive to it. The potential, and I say potential con of that, is if you get off to a slow start. There's no reason for me to believe they ever would get off to, more of a slow start than they have these past couple weeks. But it's like, hey, if you're going to play with that, that's one edge of the sword is, hey, we're going to be better deeper. The other edge of it, the other side of it is, if you get off to slow starts, sometimes it's hard to find rhythm when you're running that few amount of plays.
If you're new to our coverage, Kevin Woike, who's not with us tonight, but former Buckeye offensive lineman, I think he would echo this. Yeah. You regularly hear that Ohio State's hardest days of the week are Tuesday and Wednesday, just flat out. Where to the point where Saturdays are like, yeah, let's go have some fun and fly around and play, and it's hard because you play, but it's nothing like Tuesday and Wednesday. And I would imagine that there are certain periods of the week where they are really working hard on, okay, if we got to go up tempo, we got to look comfortable being up tempo. But when you're playing on Saturday and you're controlling the pace and the flow of the game, nobody watching Ohio State these first few weeks would look at them and be like, I don't know, they haven't scored a ton of points against Power 5 teams yet. Maybe the offense isn't quite good. Because if you watch them, they are good. They're just not running at the same pace and rhythm, to your point, that they used to. And you're right. I think it does have a lot to do with, you probably only have so many hits on your body before you start racking up injuries, and knock on wood, man. But to this point, things have been really good so far for Ohio State this year. They're critical starting players on both sides of the ball have largely stayed healthy, which is great.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think you hit it right on the head. They're prepared if they do have to speed it up, But they're going to keep it slow, and that's fine. They're going to huddle. They're going to use every second of the play clock. But you're right, man. It's funny because that group comes on the field, and it's almost like you're holding like a timed bomb in your hand, because you're just waiting for it to go off, and you're just waiting for somebody to explode. And I asked Carnell about this because that touchdown that he had, it was right over my right shoulder here, that big post ball. Like, he beat his guy by 20 yards. And I asked him, I go, like, what are your thoughts? When you see man coverage and you see no safety help over top, he gave me a little smirk, and he's like, go win, baby. And he was like, and yeah, he wins big. They're impossible to guard. And, this team has the makings of something special. And the best part about them is they're so mature that they know today wasn't the goal. The goal is in January, and they're going to continue to build to that week in and week out.
Can't wait to keep watching it unfold for sure. 42-3. I won't call it a perfect night, but it wasn't that far off. It's really hard to find things tonight that Ohio State didn't do at a very high level. And I'm sure, as you mentioned, the coaching staff's going to be looking for things left and right to make that fun session tomorrow.
I'm telling you, I was getting the chills in the back of that room. I'm like, oh, they're going to get ripped tomorrow,
Here
man.
we go.
It's going to be like a picture of the sidelines. Like, you guys aren't in a straight line. That's a run. That's a lap. That's the type of stuff that they'll be on tomorrow.
A great night for Ohio State for sure. 42-3, and the Buckeyes' undefeated season continues here through the first 5 weeks. Bucks are on the road in Champaign next week to take on the Fighting Illini. And, of course, we got lots of coverage coming up throughout the week this week as we continue to break this one down and set you up for a week from now.
BG, we got a good crew on hand tonight. So just a quick PSA. Everybody get over to Roundtable, our new site. The link's right below me. It's rolling on the scroll right below me there. Tons of great content over there. And also, you have direct access to myself, to Brennan, to Dylan, all of our writers. We have live kind of like watch-alongs almost, where we can kind of interact during the games. And then I got all the post-game press conferences up and available all over on Roundtable. So go check it out. Make an account. It takes you 2 seconds, costs you $0. Go over there. Tons of fun content over there waiting for you.
It's a great point. And when you get to the homepage, literally just click join in the top. And like you said, it's totally free. All you do is join, and you put in your email account so that we can reach out with you, and you can interact with us. There's comment sections, obviously, on stories, but the whole community feature on the bottom. You could ask us questions in video. We can respond to you in video. We want this to be an interactive thing, and look forward to building that with you.
You can tell me I'm dumb, my hair looks bad. Yeah, anything you want. You have direct access.
Please do it daily. So you can totally redeem yourself. Buckeyes 42, Minnesota 3. Hope to see everybody over at Roundtable real soon. Thanks for joining us tonight.